Times X minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
It's the Rocket Hour. Y'all are now tuned in. Time to hit the pick four that you'd love to win. If your money's coming slow, step on the faster track with your host, Ricky Pasternak. Let's go.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Rocket Hour. I hope everyone else is having a better morning than I am because I'm looking outside, and usually there's natural sunlight, and today it's just absolutely pouring. So it's really, really gross out. Last week I was really close to playing golf. Today I'm really close to pulling out the umbrella and staying inside. Mr. Halterman, you got the Oklahoma sweatshirt on. Does that mean you've started filling out your brackets and you're in the mindset, or are you still kind of taking it all in? Maybe you're going to do it tonight, tomorrow morning. What's your feeling going into the early games here tonight?
Yeah, I'm just going to watch the games tonight, and then I will fill it out after the games are over because there's a couple teams I'm interested in tonight. I think the winner of that Drake-Wichita State game might make some noise. So, but I couldn't tell you who's going to win that one. That's a pretty evenly matched up. But, man, I'm going to tell you something. One of these days I'm going to get caught singing your theme song right as we go on air. I'm glad there's like a little pause because I'm always singing it in the background. So I really got to be careful. That'll be embarrassing if you ever catch me doing that.
Yeah, the theme song, again, we've been playing it, I think, since episode either 2 or 3. We didn't come on here with an episode. We didn't come on here with an opening. Ryan Stillman has done all of the openings, those video openings, music openings, all those, however you want to categorize it, for quite some time. And he was kind enough to do that. So, again, a little shout out to Ryan. You don't see him often on the live streams, but when he does, he is knowledgeable. He comes on and he gets right to it. I'll be the first to admit it. Sometimes I can go on a tangent, but Ryan's like, I like this horse. I like this horse. I like this horse. And it's like, all right, Ryan, thank you. Because you just gave us everything in 30 seconds. Sometimes we can go on for a long time. Yeah, I just wanted to get your thoughts on Oklahoma because tonight it's important. We have the first 4 games. I don't think anyone is going to have any of the 16 seeds moving on. But based on the 11 seeded games, we can maybe see an upset. I don't know what the stat is. I think maybe 3-4 years in a row, one of these 11 seeds have gone on and have won a game, and more so just because of the momentum factor. They're feeling good about themselves. One thing to keep in mind, pay attention to the unders because these teams will get a little nervous, nervous stomachs, teams that haven't been there, players that haven't been there, might miss some shots, some early turnovers. So keep an eye on that. We have a decent hour, so I think we'll actually keep this under an hour. We're just going to do Gulfstream today. We'll recap yesterday, which we'll get into. But tomorrow we'll have a big day. That's where we're going to start at 10:30. We have some stakes action to cover, and we're going to do our brackets. Basically, we're just going to walk through them. We're not going to go pick by pick, but kind of I'll look at Aaron's, he'll look at mine. Maybe he'll ask me a few questions. I'll ask him a few questions, and we're going to do our best to get them up here for you guys so you guys could see it as well. And again, obviously chime in with your comments, things like that. So we're going to start with it. We're going to do our close shave rocket launch at the end. We're going to do that at the end. We'll leave it for the stakes recap because unfortunately there's just not a lot going on from yesterday and horse racing topics necessarily. I haven't looked at the fairgrounds card yet. Maybe Aaron has, but they do have 14. Yeah, they do have 14 races. So I do plan on looking at that kind of as soon as we hop off. Nick goes, 10 years ago that we took out Louisville. Yes, led by Kenneth Fareed. Morehead State did take out that number 2 Louisville team. Maybe they can get back to it this year as they come into this tournament with a 14 seed. Aaron, we'll start right away, and we're going to get right into Gulfstream. We do have scratches announced by Ron Nicoletti, so if you guys want to go check that out, please do so. I don't believe they're on Equibase yet, so bear with us. Every horse is still in the field. We don't have any scratches that aren't main track only scratches, so it shouldn't really affect your handicapping. If we do have those, Aaron will try to do his best to give those to us, to myself as well, as we try to get along. Aaron, I'll start with you. We're in race 7. A starter allowance for fillies and mares, 4-year-olds and upward, going 5 furlongs on the turf. Again, my favorite type of races. I love these turf sprints. Where did you go here? I thought this was a pretty wide open field and a field you can make a case for everyone.
Yeah, this is my weakest opinion of the 4. So, I didn't invest very much here. I just went $5 to win on the 1. I think the 1 at 8 to 1 is very interesting. This is first off the claim, really not for a trainer that's great, but still first off the claim, moves back to the turf. I like that. And Harmio gets up to ride. Harmio, he could ride for a lot of different barns, but he chose this horse. This horse showed a lot of speed in both of those recent turf races, I should say. I do realize this is a move up in class for the horse a little bit compared to the race 2 back. But I look at this field, I don't see a lot of other speed. And this horse gets the rail going 5 furlongs. I just think if the horse gets a nice break out of the gate, that she can take this field gate to wire. So I'm going to start off with the $5 win wager on an 8 to 1, number 1, My Sarasota Star. I think the biggest challenger probably comes from the horse just to her outside, number 2, Sanity. First off, the claim for Mike Maker, obviously, that's going to be tough to beat. But you look at this horse's recent form, a lot of seconds, thirds, stuff like that. Have to go back a long ways, June of 2020 to find a win. So I'm just thinking, maybe this horse kind of gets behind the 1 a little bit, can't catch up. It's just a $5 win wager to open it up, but I didn't want to do it on a favorite. So I just think at 8 to 1, My Sarasota Star has a shot. So 1 and 2 were my top 2 choices.
Yeah, no, that's a really fair point. I actually marked her down in 3rd, which I think is still kind of shows my likeness or my ability to think about her, because she's 8 to 1. I didn't put her, I be honest, I didn't put her on top. I put this 2 Sanity on top. The problem with Sanity, I can't figure her out, right? Because for Kelly Breen, we see a ton of sprints, not showing 0 speed, like at all. And then has to close, and did so. And it's really tough to close into turf sprints. Extremely, extremely tough. I try to fade those horses. Then in the final race for Kelly Breen, this horse goes 7.5 furlongs and shows a little speed out of the gate, then eventually falls off. So I have no idea what to do with this horse. And now the horse is going to drop down. In the starter 20, 2 starts back, she finished 2nd. I think that's probably where she belongs. Somewhere in this range or that range. So I think she's a must-use. For the 1 Sarasota Star, My Sarasota Star, I'm not sure how much speed there is in this spot. I'm like, this is a 5 furlong turf sprint with potentially some of the slowest speed out of the gate in quite some time. I'm looking at the 3 Awesome Roar. Yeah, it makes sense, but didn't come from way out of it. The 4 Cats Astray, that's one I marked down because this one has speed. Yes, she fades, but a lot of those races had more speed than this one does. And the 5 Sesame Street, I think you just have to use that one because I don't really know. I don't really know where she fits. Not having won a race, or run a race, I should say, at Gulfstream Park is interesting. On class alone, she would win this race. Because even if you look at the Tampa Bay races, the Lightning City, she finished to Miss Aramet, who's much better than this group. To Joy is much better than this group. And she finished 3rd by a length with K Barcoa. Okay, so we get Corey Lannery. If you look at some of the other riders, I'm not all that impressed, which means 2 things. Either 1, she was extremely overmatched, and based on her odds, it's possible because she wasn't a favorite in any of them in her last 6, except for 1, and she lost a rider at the start. So again, let's cross that one out. Now she gets Corey Lannery, which kind of tells me I don't know if she's going to be a top choice in here either, because Tyler doesn't get them out, and Misael doesn't get them out, Paco doesn't get them out, or it could be, well, maybe Tyler wants to stay with Mike Maker, Edgard Zayas wants to stay with Sano. I don't know. But Angel Arroyo goes to Juan Arias, who hasn't won a race. So there's a lot of question marks. And yeah, maybe I'm looking into the rider thing too much, but more times than not, a good rider will stay with a really good trainer, even if it's a throwaway race, just so they maintain those connections, because it doesn't make sense to hop on for a race like this. I went 1 through 5, to be brutally honest. If you were to play, I'll throw the question back to you now. If you were to play it the way I was playing, who else would you consider? Maybe anyone outside the 1 or 2? Would you stay a little short here?
No, I would go deep here, and I don't disagree with the 4, using the 4. I didn't have the 4 in my top 4, but same thing, speed, right? I don't think the horse has quite as much speed as the 1, but still the horse should be forwardly placed in a race, and you said it very well. You usually see 2 or 3 horses with early speed in these races. It's just not there for this one, so that's why I kind of leaned on that. Just to touch on the 5, I circled this horse and just put it like a big question mark. Like, because I agree with everything you said. On paper, it seems like this horse should, get the job done. But coming over from Tampa, I hate playing horses coming over from Tampa to Gulfstream, And the rider thing is weird. I agree. So I don't know. Short price. I just thought I'll try to swing against as far as betting a win. And yeah, I mean, the 3 is another one. Just seems like it's a Ricky horse. It really is a really logical horse. The horse just very, very consistent. So yeah, it's not going to shock me at all if the 3 wins. So I mean, I think we are pretty much exactly the same with our thoughts on this race, which happens some, but maybe not every single horse exactly the same like this one. So I think we're pretty much alike here.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think we are as well. One horse that I do want to talk about is the 7 Ogermark, which we haven't done. I'm not going to talk about the 6 Dancing Doll. I think that horse is going to be facing too tough. The 7 Ogermark is interesting. Paco Lopez for Kathleen O'Connell. I always like to see, and this is something that I always like to see because it's very, very rare, on October 12th of 2019. You know what that is? That's the Meadowlands. If you guys don't know that, they run turf racing at the Meadowlands like in October. I think even maybe a little in November. They're all Monmouth horses that actually come north. And that's cool for me because I've gone before, and it's a very, very, very small meet, and it's only turf racing. That's all they have. So I think that's kind of cool to see. And she does fit in the field in that group of 6. This one is scary, and the reason I'm a little bit nervous is because she won't be as far back, I don't think, as some of the other runners. So does she get that dream trip? Because some of the speed is cheap, like the 4 Cats Astray and the 1 My Sarasota Star. Maybe they're not good enough, which means this could be the horse that's going to pick them off. Does this one scare you at all?
Yeah, I think just because of what you just said, the trip for this horse should set up really ideally. Now they don't run these races on paper. You never know what is going to happen once they get out of the gate. But when you look at it on paper, there is no question this horse is the one that can be tactical. Where some of these other ones I'm not quite sold on. So. Yeah, I definitely considered this one. It's one of those situations, like I said to start, I just don't have a strong opinion in this race. And when that happens, you could make a case for almost all of them, right? So this is definitely one. I don't know. I guess my theory or my thought is why I didn't put this horse in the top 4. I'm just not sure she's fast enough. Even if she gets a perfect trip, her figures are a little slow compared to the rest of this field. So that was my, worry with her. But yeah, should get a decent trip, no question.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's going to be the interesting thing here. Is she fast enough to keep up with this group? Even the cheap speed, if she's still too far off, she might not be able to close. And she now steps up from claiming races to this starter allowance race. Let's move on to race 8, starter optional, claiming $25,000 for 3-year-olds going 1 mile on the dirt. This was another tough field. I started with what I thought was the logical horse, and that was Braccio de Ferro. This race is another one with not a ton of early speed. I tried to identify where the speed would come from, and I think the 6 Braccio de Ferro will do that. The reason I say that is Junior Alvarado is probably the best rider when it comes to versatility. He's one of my favorite. Like when we think of Joel Rosario, we think of off the speed. Javier Castellano a little bit more patient. Jose Ortiz a little bit more patient. Irad a little bit more aggressive. Paco extremely aggressive. I think Junior Alvarado is one of the more versatile ones. I think Tyler Gaffalione is very versatile as well. You don't really factor it in with him in a good way. Like, I don't really love Joel Rosario on the front end. I don't love that particularly, for example. Junior Alvarado was able to show some speed with this horse last time out. Braccio de Ferro lost to a horse named Shoeshine, which is a great name, by the way. Shoeshine kind of just took this field gate to wire. There was another horse, Siddharth, or I think Siddharth or something like that, who I've never trusted before. And after that horse bumped at the gate, it faded completely. So it's just one of those situations where I think Shoeshine got away from this field. It was extremely, extremely fast early on, and Shoeshine just went gate to wire and kind of, I think, surprised this field. I don't think that's going to happen again today. I think Junior Alvarado took note of that spot and said, if we can get to the lead, we can do the same thing. So I put the 6 Braccio de Ferro on top.
I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense. I had this horse in the top 3. I went for here a 50-cent trifecta box, 4, 6, 7, and 8. And I see that you're playing the 4, 6, and the 8. So, yeah, I think we have a pretty similar opinion here. I think you talked about the 6, enough. I don't need to tack onto that. I thought the 7 was interesting. First off, the claim for a trainer that does not do well at Gulfstream, but overall does pretty well. This is a horse I think, moving up in class, but I'll take a horse that's hot and has won 2 in a row. So I thought, at 9-2, that was an interesting horse. I think this horse is ready for the class jump. So we'll see if that one can make a little noise. I'll mention the 7 just because I know that's one that you didn't use that I have on the ticket. But I think your other ones are interesting or logical, I guess I should say. The 8, I've been knocking at the door a couple times at this level. Today, I kind of think, he's going to get the perfect kind of stalking outside trip here. Last time out, stretched out to a mile and got beat by your top choice, but was within range and ran pretty darn well. So I think the 8 can turn right back around here and win. I really love the connections as far as this level goes with a horse like an 8. So I'll let you talk about the 4. But yeah, I think we're very, very similar here.
Yeah, when looking at the 6 and the 8, I think they're pretty much identical horses. They've run against the same horses in the past. They ran on January 1st against each other. They ran on February 18th against each other. I think this is a logical group. I think it's, to be honest, the same horse, more or less. And I think you have to kind of use both of them. They're probably going to run the same race. I went to the 4 over the 7, and I used the 7 for 4th. It's funny, we're not using the 3 Hercules, who we'll talk about in a little bit. Yeah, I went with the 4 Dropped Anchor because I think this Dropped Anchor is a little bit faster, and maybe Dropped Anchor is not as good as Hard Game. I probably admit that, but again, Angel Arroyo, who I've talked about this a lot, and it's one of my favorite angles. Don't worry about the jockey when the directions or the instructions are simple. What I mean by that is Alfredo Velasquez is going to tell Angel, just get to the lead. Whatever you have to do, just get there. I mean, if you have to go 20-4, don't do it. But, if you need to go 21-4, 22-1 to just secure the lead, do it and let's see what happens, because this horse has gotten better and better and better. Now, granted, he dropped out of some better races, but he kind of looks like he's gotten better as a 3-year-old, and maybe that's what it was. All of his 3-year-old races are good enough to win this race. And this is a starter optional claiming 25. I don't think it's the strongest one out there. So I'm kind of with you. I went with a horse that seems to be getting hot and running better. But I'll take the horse that's going to show more speed. And I'm also going to take the price, because the 7 Hard Game probably going to be a shorter price. So I just figured between those 2, I would take the bigger price. So that's really the difference there for me. I put that horse in 3rd. and I put hard game in 4. So I'm still relying on the 6 and the 8. Let's go to the 3, Hercules, a little bit, and I'll let you start there. This horse started the career, maiden special weight 60,000, and I'll be brutally honest. If I own that horse, I'd be like, all right, we've got something here with this horse who debuts well, then goes into this Gulfstream stakes race that I'll be honest, I had never heard of before. It's the Florida Sire in reality stakes. They have a lot of Florida bred stakes races. I had never heard of it, and they have some weird names, so I had to look it up. Boca Boy and Breeze on By are good horses, and they still are, so that's fine. But even after that, he never really seemed the same. He didn't win until he dropped into a claiming spot, which he should have won. Do you like this horse at all? It's Juan Alvarado and Edgar Zayas, but 3-1 just seems like this horse just, I don't know, is unreliable to me.
I played against this horse altogether. I did not throw this horse on the trifecta ticket. Now, here's the deal. If you watch this show and you remember, Hercules was a big single, a big win wager for us, or for single for you, win wager for me on January 13th, the last time he ran. And I remember that very well. And we were talking with each other, and it's like, God, he should win, but he's been so bad. But man, we have to go deep other places. So we got to single this horse. And he ran well. But if you remember, we came on the next day and said, yeah, he won. It was great. We never had to sweat it. He slowed down considerably in the stretch of that race. He was just so much better than everybody else. He got the job done. Now he moves up. He was a vet scratch the last time he entered. I hate that when that happens. And they also gelded him since that last race. There's a lot of weird stuff going on. And oh, by the way, Irad Ortiz Jr. was on him that day. Edgar Zayas is on him this day. I don't have a problem with Edgar, but that is definitely a step down. Now, Irad, obviously, he's not riding right now, so that could be why. But still, it's a step down. I don't care what the reason. It's still a step down. So I think this horse is a play against today. He could definitely burn me, but just my eyes and what I saw of him, I think he was at the right level at that 20, K claiming was the right level. I don't like him I don't like him moving up in class today.
Yeah, I don't either. Everything you just said. Obviously, the Irad thing is interesting because Irad's just not riding at all. But even those races, he was drawing Hector Berrios. So what does that say? That means this horse never really belonged in any of those spots. Because even if we look at that debut, and I'll go through the jockeys in the debut, this horse could have gotten Jaramillo, could have gotten Miguel Vasquez, could have gotten Christian Torres, and got Hector Berrios. Hector Berrios is probably middle of the pack. He is better than Ronnie Allen Jr. and Jesus Rios in my book. But nonetheless, it's one of those things where Irad Ortiz only got aboard because he was much the best.
Right.
Now, in a race where we don't think he's much the best, he gets Edgar, no Gaff Leone, who could have had a chance, no Junior Alvarado, who's going to stick aboard. Corey Lannery could have maybe gotten this mount. So Jaramillo now hops on the 8. There are a lot of new riders on a lot of different horses. That's why I went differently. Miguel Vasquez is on the 2. Miguel Vasquez has never been on the 2 or the 3. So I think the fact that this one gets Edgar Zayas as opposed to maybe some of the others that I prefer, or even, Paco or something like that. Not that Edgar's bad. I just don't think he's better than some of the other ones I mentioned. I think he's about middle of the pack. Mind you, there's no Castellano. There's no Ortiz brothers. Not even Johnny V there. So that was what it did for me. And he's just unreliable. If he beats us, I don't think we'd be that upset because we definitely wanted to fade. Nick says Irad Ortiz rode 3 of the horses. Yeah, and that's what Irad does. If we look at some of those, the 7 hard game was 3-1, and then before that hard game was 1.8. So that's what 9-5. So yeah, Irad gets aboard a lot of horses that are interesting. The 5, Jacahare, at 5-1, almost 6-1. My guess, to be brutally honest, it's the Greg Sacco angle. Greg Sacco is a New York guy, and Greg Sacco once in a while will have a horse that's good. And I don't think this horse is necessarily good. I just think he's probably better than some of the other ones. I didn't look at that race. And then, right, Hercules, the horse was 1.6. That's like 8-5. Again, another favorite. So, yeah, Irad will hop on the best horses, usually, no matter what. And then Nick talks about, what about Caramel Chip? That's the 2. Extending out, speed figures right there with improvement, could run well at 15-1 for me. And then I'll throw to Aaron. For me, at this level, I know it's stretching out is something, but at this level, last time out, 2 starts back, I should say, lost by 10.25 to Braccio de Ferro. And that's just not going to get it done for me. Aaron, what did you consider this one at all, or based on the way he ran last time out?
You hit it on the head. My biggest problem was when this horse stepped up to that level, didn't run very well, and then went to Tampa and won. I already kind of said I don't like playing Tampa horses here at Gulfstream. So no, I just couldn't make a case for this one. I really couldn't. I would be pretty surprised if Caramel Chip wins this one. I just couldn't make a case for that one.
Yeah, I couldn't either, and I think I'm being relatively nice because I don't like that horse. Also, coming from a race from Tampa Bay Downs, I don't know how much stock we can put into that either. Let's move on to the back half of this sequence. Allowance optional claiming $16,000 for Florida bred 4-year-olds and upward, going 1 mile on the turf. 8 furlongs. Real quick for some people chiming in about their tickets, early pick 5 stuff. We'll try to get to it, but we only focus on the last 4 races. Again, hopefully we can get to that. I know Jared put in your early pick 5, and someone talked about race 5. Maybe we can get to that, but right now we're just going to focus on races 9 and 10. Aaron, I'll start with you. Race 9. Where did you go here in this field of 7?
Yeah, this is a strong race. I think this is I for whatever reason I like Florida breds on the turf, not on the dirt. I can't explain it, but I went on top here with a horse you didn't use. So this is the one I think where we have the biggest differing opinion here. I went with the 6 Zap Daddy on top. This horse has won 2 races in a row. Last time out at the starter allowance level at this distance. So I like that. I obviously love Junior Alvarado. So that's another positive. And, we preach on this show, speed on the turf at Gulfstream. Boy, I kind of think we could see a pretty hot pace in this one. I'm a little worried. I think the 8 is the speed of the speed, and we'll get out in front. But I think the 1, I think the 4, I think the 5, especially the 1 coming off of a claim for a new barn. I think these horses are going to go. Andros the Rail. I think they're going to go with the 8. And I think the 6 could sit a really nice stocking, 4th, 5th place and really pounce when we get going late. I think the 6 can mow them down. So I put number 6 Zap Daddy on top here. I did agree. I see that you use the 8, and I think Croy is the obvious favorite here. My one kind of, scared about Croy a little bit, just hasn't seemed to be able to finish a race out lately. I do think this is the best, setup as far as a talent level that this horse has faced. I definitely think he seems to be the class of the field. I just kind of think if he's pressured, the 6 may be able to run him down late. But the 6 and the 8 for me were definitely the top 2 choices here.
Yeah, that's fair, and I agree. I don't think the 1 is going to show speed, and here's why. The 1 comes back in the same race and didn't show speed last time out from an outside post. Now drawing on the inside, it's going to be a lot tougher to show speed. Maybe that's where we get a rider switch from Edgar Prado to Miguel Vasquez, and maybe something behind the scenes there. But just on paper, and granted, that was for Paul Copage. Maybe Ken Sweezy changes it up. Mm-hmm. But I think that's an unknown, and I don't think the 1 is really good enough. Some of his races have been longer, 1.5 miles. I don't know what to do with this horse, and he's also lost to Freedom Matters twice. Croy once in the last 6. The 6 is interesting. I don't know. I was the other way. I was looking at it and saying, I don't know how fast this is going to be. And maybe that's where the answer is. If
Yep.
at the end of this thing, when we look back and this race was slow, you'll come back and say, I guess it was a lot slower than I thought that changed it. For me, if none of the speed holds on and it collapses, I'll say, okay, maybe I read this one wrong. I should have been looking for horses in tiers B or C. That's where I think we differ. I don't think we differ in the talent of these horses. I think we're different in terms of how we're looking at it. I am concerned about Croy in terms of at 6 to 5 or even money into the 6 to 5 range. You're supposed to hold on.
Mm-hmm.
Not really a ton of excuses. Wasn't all that fast. I do like the fact he was dueling the entire way. He wasn't really on the front end by himself, which is fine. I believe he'll get to the lead by himself because I don't think the 6 is going to want to get to the lead. I don't think the 2 is going to want to get to the lead. Maybe if the 1 shows that speed. The 2, though, Freedom Matters, who we didn't really talk about, I think this is a nice upgrade from Alan Owinski to Kelly Breen, and I don't think Kelly Breen has to get this one to improve all that much. Some of the races going a mile, I think he's actually been better. At this distance, has finished in the money 6 of 8 times. So I actually believe that Freedom Matters is going to improve, and if he improves, he might be better than Croy. We're not entirely sure. Zap Daddy, I was kind of surprised to see Zap Daddy drop from the starter allowance into this spot because that was an open starter race. Now we're into Florida bred races at the allowance optional 16 level. It's very, very possible that Carlos David just said, I don't really care where the spot is. They're probably about the same. I just want to pick up a purse. That's possible. That race was for $38,000. This one's for $48,000. So maybe the purse was I'm not sure. That's not an answer I have. I just thought that was interesting and maybe something to keep a note on. Is there any, before we move on to the final race, are there any horses that we didn't talk about that were interesting? The 5 at 4 to 1 dominate the moment. You talked about the 1 Super Jaguar. Again, the 7, by the way, please sit down, is still an MTO, will not be running. Any other horses that you want to talk about before we move on?
I really think, the sleeper of the group, and I think, Freedom Matters obviously is logical, but I think the sleeper is Super Jaguar, and I think that's going to be the key to everything because we disagree. I really think that horse's best chance is to go to the front from this rail draw, or at least get out, towards the front. I don't know. First off the claim, going to Sweezy's barn, I just think now might be the time this horse runs well. So for me, the 1 is the sleeper.
No, and I completely agree. If that horse shows speed, which I'm not anticipating, but say he does, then my whole plan is ruined. And I think if he doesn't show speed, your whole plan might be ruined because the 8 will get the lead by himself. If you guys aren't aware, getting the lead from the rail, showing speed is a lot tougher than the outside because you're kind of, I'm going to try to do this with my hand. You're kind of coming in versus going out from the rail. Maybe my hand should have been whatever. Getting speed from the rail is a big ask because horses to your outside, like there's just a rail. There's no horse to your inside. So it's sometimes visually for the horses to show speed from the rail is very, very tricky. And these aren't sprinters where they're bred for speed and they're trying to show speed all the time. It's some more tactical speed. Like if you can get it, we'll get it. The 8 starting from the far outside, which is now going to be the 7 spot, makes it a lot easier. So I think Croy is the best horse and should be able to hold on. Let's move on to the final race, claiming $12,500 for fillies and mares, 4-year-olds and upward, going 1 mile on the turf. This one is wide open. I went 3 deep. Let me scroll this down for you guys so you guys can see the entries. I went with the 1, 7, and 9, and I'll start with a horse that I'm very, very interested in, and that's the 1, K's Running Free.
Mm-hmm.
I thought this horse was interesting because he was only she was only scheduled to run 1 race going long. And that was over it ended up being a sloppy track at the maiden claiming 40 level. That race I thought was pretty impressive to finish second by 4 1/4. It was the second time dropping in for attack, but the first time stretching out. I kind of marked that one down that day and said, let's see what happens if this horse can ever get back on the turf going long. It never happened. It never happened. Maybe I'm skeptical of the talent, but because I marked that down for so long, since September 25th, I feel like I'd be an idiot if I didn't try this horse in a logical spot. If it were to step up into a stakes race, I'm not doing it. But this is a logical spot, and it dropped down in class. This horse never had a chance last time out against winners for the first time. Never. 22-1, almost 22-2. But you could see step slow, no factor. I watched that race and it was pretty accurate. Just never got off to the right start. Those turf sprinters always break well for the most part because they know when they break from the gate they have to go. This horse just never ever looked like a turf sprinter to me. The talent never showed it, but I think this one's interesting. I would be very worried about going against this horse if you were in my situation because you get Javier, you get Sappy Joe, and again, this horse, the only time when going a mile, ran well in a race that was really sloppy, only losing by 4 1/4, and managed to hold on for second. So that's what I'm interested in. Again, I went 179. Where did you go here? I say you have a win bet. What were you thinking here with the final race?
It's funny. We have seen things so much alike today because my top 3 is the 1, the 7, and the 9. But I'm with you. I went $5 to win on the 1 here to round it out. I am super interested in this 1. I'm with you. I think this horse stretching out, that's what she needs. And I have no idea why they waited so long. My only guess is, this horse goes to Sappy Joseph and wins going 5. So, of course, he's going to put her back going 5 again, right? But you're right. Now the class drop, go to a distance that I think is going to be pretty perfect for her. I'm really interested in this one. And here's one that I really think is going to sit a stocking to mid-pack, sit in 4th or 5th, save all the ground on the rail, tip out, and have a real good shot. I mean, I think this horse is going to get the perfect trip. So I'm with you. I think Kay's running free to round it out here. I've got a lot of confidence. So I like the 1. Like I said, I do like the 7 and the 9. One horse that I think could be interesting here is the 5 Strike Magic. This is a horse I put in 4th. Hasn't been awful running against stronger competition at the 35K level at this distance. Got 6, but only beaten 3 lengths. Last time out at the 20K level, stretched out in distance. Again, got 6, only beaten 4 1/4. I think coming down to this 12K level is a sizable drop here. I thought this horse had a shot. This is another one that I think will sit a stocking trip, and hopefully, the horse gets a little bit of speed up front. So if you like, if you want to try to play a try here, I think the 5 is one you should get involved as well. But I'm with you. 179, I think gets it done here.
Yeah, let's talk about a few other ones. We talked about the 1, the 5. Yeah, Strike Magic. I just don't know what to make of this horse. I'm not sure if this horse wants to come off the pace. I'm not sure if this horse wants to be tactical. I have no idea. And they just continue to drop him in class. That is a negative sign for me. The 6, Lady Cloverly. The Tampa Bay races are an issue. Actually has looked better on the turf. Fine, but the only thing you could say for this horse is she's got Juan Carlos Avila, and that's about it. That's the only positive I can make for this horse. I just don't think she's good enough. I'll go through all the ones that I think are logical, and then I'll throw to Aaron and see what he thinks or what he agrees with. The 7, Sylvanella, who we both like. This is just a drop in class. Christophe Clement, for as bad as he was like in the 7%. He's up to 12%, so he's definitely getting it going again, which may be good because we're going to be hitting Belmont real soon. Maybe these horses ship up north, or maybe it's just a good sign for his horses that are, going to stay around on the turf, and he is a much better turf trainer. So that's a good thing. Tyler Gaffleone stays aboard, which I think is good as well. The 9, Mercy. This one is interesting, and I used this horse. Some of the races that she was running in, especially the 2 races in Kentucky, I have no idea why she ever was in those races. Like, based on her odds, I guess she fit, but she was awful, absolutely awful in some of those. She did look good last time out, which I'm looking at it. Maybe she's better as a 5-year-old. I think once you go from 2 to 3 is the biggest difference. 3 to 4 is a big difference, and 4 to 5 not as much. After 5, I don't really look for improvement. But maybe she's just better. She was 20 to 1 last time, and her time form figures fit. They're much better. She's about 88, and should be sitting off the lead. And the other one I thought to talk about a little bit was the 11, Jimmy Smoked Carrot. Another great name. Problem with Jimmy Smoked Carrot, her best race that wasn't the maiden race came over a fast track when it was taken off. So what does this horse ultimately want? I have no idea. That's why I didn't use that one. In terms of the horses I just ran through real quickly, or maybe something else you want to add, or a point I didn't touch on, is there anything you wanted to mention, or a horse that maybe you're a little bit afraid of, or a horse that people should keep an eye on, anything like that?
I'm kind of with the Jimmy Smoked Carrot a little bit. I think the horse has early speed, and from that outside gate, it's going to be important. I mean, Junior's going to have to get this horse broke and over. I don't know. I think the 11 can kind of sit right behind that 7 and maybe get first run. But I'm with you. I was really unsure of what surface might be best for this horse. I don't know. I didn't love him. But listen, the question was, is Jimmy Smokes Carrot any good? Yeah, I mean, no, but for this race, yeah. You could make a case for the 11. Is that horse any good? No. But are these horses in this race any good? No. So you got a shot, right? Somebody mentioned, I think Jared mentioned the 6.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's another Tampa thing. Yeah, it was 39 to 1 last time out in a Tampa Bay Downs allowance. Yeah, probably needs a class drop. So I don't know. I don't like Tampa horses coming over here. So maybe I'll talk all these to the winner circle that we've talked about today. And Jared said something about singling the 7. I don't think this would be the race I single. But obviously the 7 makes sense. And you said it. I mean, they're just dropping to try to get this horse a win. They don't have any big plans for this horse. It's like, well, we tried an allowance. It didn't go well. We tried a 35,000 K claimer. Didn't go well. Let's go to the allowance. That's basically all it is.
Yeah, exactly. And some of the horses we haven't touched on real quick. Noble Maria hasn't finished better than 3rd at any claiming race in a long time. The 3, Legata Negra, I don't like the connections and hasn't finished better than 3rd. The 4, Milfiore, I mean, I'm not even mentioning that horse at all. Lady Cloverly, I think, is a little interesting with Juan Carlos Avila. Maybe this horse at the claiming level makes sense because we haven't seen this horse at that spot. The 12, Obstinate, I thought was interesting because Greg Sacco is a really, really good trainer, and immediately Greg Sacco puts this one back on the turf. Maybe he saw something in this turf race on January 20th that was intriguing. I don't know if she's a good turf runner or not, but I do know the one turf race that she ran before the January 20th one was in a maiden special weight at Keeneland 2 years ago. So maybe her getting back to the turf is interesting, but neither Aaron or myself used her. Let's wrap it up here. Dennis, real quick, says, how about the 4? Yeah, I mean, there's nothing positive I could say about this horse. I'm sorry. Absolutely nothing. If I did, I'd be lying to you. I'd be making it up and lying to you. Aaron, is there anything positive you could say for this horse?
Boy. Yes, I'm gonna try to say something just so that no, I can't. No. The horse, I even tried to make something up and I can't. Got beat 38, 14, and 13 last 3 races, all at the 12K level. Since moving away from Pletcher, just haven't seen anything from him.
Yeah, mind you, look at the odds on this horse. I mean, it's not even like she finished like that and was good, and maybe you're looking for a bounce back spot. Maybe she figures it out or wakes up. I mean, this horse never belonged.
Yeah.
At this level, there's really nowhere else to go with them, with the horse like this. I don't think they run claiming 62.50 on the turf. Don't quote me on that, but I don't believe that they do, which means this is the lowest spot I think on the turf that they can go. This horse should be running at Tampa Bay Downs. I'll just leave it at that.
This horse should be running at Mountaineer.
This horse should be running at the Meadowlands. If this horse comes to the Meadowlands in a few weeks, come next fall. Well, I'm not going to rush us through the summer, but next fall, if anyone wants to remind me, I'll put $10 on this horse to win every time she runs at the Meadowlands if she comes up north. Let's wrap up.
I will not.
Yeah, you will not. But that's probably more so because I would show up to the races myself. Let's wrap up. I'll start first. In the first race, I thought it was really, really good compact field. I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just trying to get as much coverage as possible. In the second leg, or race 8, I went 4, 6, 8. I do believe there are 2 horses that are just better, and that's Braccio de Ferro and Cosando. And then I have the 4, Dropped Anchor, because Dropped Anchor is the horse that I think is just running well and isn't too big of a step up, coming from the Antonio Sano barn to Alfredo Velasquez. In the next race, I went with the 2-8 in race 9. I think Freedom Matters can get better as Kelly Breen takes over, and I think Croy won't be tested too much on the speed. It's one of those situations where I think Croy will actually get a chance to go gate to wire. And the final race, 179, I'm really looking at that one. Like Aaron is, Cave's running free, going to extend and go longer on the turf. Let's see if she can get it done for Safi Joe, going long for the first time on the grass. Aaron, what did you think of the sequence?
Yeah, race 7 was pretty weak opinion, really, but I went $5 to win on the 1. I just think the 1 could get the trip. I'm hoping the 1 can go gate to wire here and get the job done. Race 8, 4, 6, 7, 8 trifecta box. I think it's a pretty wide open race. Race 9, $5 to win on the 6. I think this horse will get a good stocking trip. I do see a lot of speed in there. The 9th race, Ricky does not, so that'll probably determine how that 6 runs. And then in race 10, $5 win on the 1. Ricky and I are both kind of, we're kind of high on the 1. We kind of very interested to see how that horse does. 6 to 1 would be a great price. So just $27 for me today. Only $20 yesterday, which kind of shows you I haven't been real confident. But we're getting into yesterday, and yesterday we had some winners. So, it's still okay to bet, even if you're not real confident. Just keep the numbers low. And that's what I did yesterday, and it worked out. So I'm going to do it again today with a $27 investment. Yeah.
Aaron's going to stick with a lot of win bets, and we do like the 1 in the 10th race. So that's probably the horse that we're either going to walk into the winner's circle and say we were right, or the horse is going to finish last. Probably, I guess we'll find out later today. Let's recap a little bit. Yesterday, we'll keep our ticket scrolling for a little bit more, and then we're going to get to our close shave rocket launch. It was pretty chalky for the most part, and unfortunately, that's just the way things go. Unfortunately for me, I actually hit the pick 4 and lost like $5, $6, whatever it is. And that's okay. I mean, I'm happy I got it right. Unfortunately, some people who played it might have lost. Aaron did well, and it was one of those type of days where if you played the win bets like he did, it definitely worked out for you. Let's get to race 7, and then there's a question that Dennis just put up, so we'll get to that in a moment. Let's get that up. We'll answer Dennis's question, and then we will recap. I find it sometimes you hit the most when you're not confident in the race because you give options to horses you wouldn't consider if you did feel confident. And he means, and then I mean, hit the most money.
Yeah.
I think the question, I'm going to try to sum it up. I think what he's saying is you use more options when you're not, you hit more times when you're not as confident because you're using more options. I would agree with that. When you're really confident, you limit yourself and you limit your options because you think you either A, can maybe play a 50-cent pick four and play it like a $2 pick four, or you'll play a 50-cent pick four for maybe like 12, 16, 18 bucks, something like that. So I do agree with that in terms of I notice myself hitting more when I'm not as confident because I'm using more horses. Now, maybe the money doesn't come back the same. Like yesterday, I wasn't really confident and I had to use more horses. I ended up losing because all the favorites came in, and we'll get to that. I think that was race 9 with Pillar Mountain, I believe, race 9. Aaron, do you feel the same way? I know you're more of a race-by-race guy, but when you do play multi-race sequences, do you feel like you hit more when you're not as confident because you use more horses, or do you think you hit more when you're confident and you go shorter because you're extremely confident? I think that's the question.
I think when you're not as confident, you definitely look at the race with an open mind. And I think sometimes that is great compared to when I'm locked in on this horse. I agree and I disagree at the same time, because for me, some of my biggest cashes have been when I'm really confident because I play win wagers. So, it makes sense when I'm really confident, I'm going to play more money on that horse. But, there's been times like Adaria in the Breeders' Cup filly and mare turf would be a really good example where I didn't think Rushing Fall could quite. I mean, I thought Rushing Fall could get the distance, but I didn't think it was her best distance. And then there's Adaria, and you bet $20 to win on a horse at 17-1 because you looked at the race with an open mind because you didn't like the favorite. So, yeah, I mean, it's definitely a good point. And it just kind of depends on how you wager.
Yeah, it's all about the way you play. Jared says, "Can you guys take a look at the early pick 5?" How about this? We'll do that at the end after we recap. We'll go through. We'll just give you the horses that we use. We are not going to break down every single race.
No, we'll put your ticket up and we'll look at it. But I'm not going to give you every single horse either.
Yeah, because it will be here forever. Charles said, how do I like the Oaklawn card? I actually like the Oaklawn card a little bit better than the Gulfstream card that today. It is what it is. And then Dennis says, it's a Pandora's box because it's unlimited. Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer.
No, and it gets you thinking. And that's why I really like that question, because it really gets you thinking. And it's definitely, there's something to it, one way or the other, whether it means you look at the race a little bit better, honestly, than maybe you would. So I think it's a really good point and question for sure.
Yeah, I don't think it's about I'll sum it up by saying this. I don't think it's about how confident you are. I think it's a matter of how do you see the sequence going? Because you could be extremely confident, and if you look like if you think it's a race that's wide open, then even if you're confident in 1 or 2 horses, you want to give yourself coverage. Sometimes the sequence is kind of how it's dictated to you. And for me, like I'm much better at turf sprints than I am at a turf route. Like those 12 furlong races, I'll be honest, I should hit the all button because I never can figure them out. And they're really tough too. Those unique distances, like the 11 furlongs, 12 furlong. If you have a race that you're really good at, like maiden claimer or something like that, then maybe you could be more confident. And I think that's up to you as the individual to find your sweet spot. All right, enough of that. Thank you I shouldn't say enough of that. Thank you for the question, but we do have to get to our Close Shave Rocket launch brought to you by Manscaped. Support for the Rocket Hours brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below the waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision engineered tools for your family jewels. They obsess over their technology developments to provide you the best tools for your grooming experience. Manscaped is trusted by over 2 million men worldwide. We have an exclusive offer for everyone listening today, 20% off plus free shipping with the code ROCKET20 at manscaped.com. Again, folks, I've adopted this little beard here, but it's all about grooming, right? Whenever you go out, whether you're here in New York City like me, or you're like Aaron, where you're in a little bit of a more rural area, you want to be properly groomed. Right, you don't want to be embarrassed when you go outside. So take a look at Manscaped. Whether you're worried about under the clothes, over the clothes, face or not, you want to be properly groomed. You want to feel good about yourself. So take a look and go to manscaped.com to check that out. Plenty of great products and things like that. Yeah, so check it out. I got my products right here. I will be getting ready for the weekend. I'm watching a lot of college basketball, but I will be getting ready for the weekend, and I'll be properly trimmed. Aaron, let's start with race 7 from yesterday. I really like the horse Hera, but I did warn everyone because of the scratches, we weren't going to get the price. Hera sat the perfect trip, kind of let Real Doozy kind of put himself into a doozy and kind of tire himself out as the favorite. What did you think of Hera, the winner, and can we take anything from this race maybe moving forward?
Oh yeah, I mean, not really moving forward. I thought Hera ran a very good race. I thought the trip, excuse me, by and the ride by Paco Lopez was fantastic. Listen, I had Real Doozy as the top choice. Thought we had it, and I just got caught late. But there's just not a lot to take away moving forward. If Hera's back at this sort of level, probably, is a horse to consider, but you got to think these horses are going to see, tougher competition down the line.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, when the scratches came out, and if you guys are not aware of the scratches, we had Blue Eye Princess and Daddy's Joy. I think it was Daddy's Joy who came in. It was going to be a short price, I believe. And that was the horse that Aaron and I were like, this one's out. It's going to change the race. You couldn't get value, and I couldn't really separate between the 1, 2, or 7. So unfortunately, I had to take them all. And Hera just kind of sat the perfect trip. I'm not sure what we can really take from this race, as Aaron kind of said. Let's move on to the 8th race, starter optional claiming. I was between the 3 and 5. I'm happy I was able to get one of them home. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get the better price home. I will say Foolish Heart was put to a test early, kind of dueled early on, kept everyone away, and it never was really had a length. It had a length really above everyone else. Foolish Heart was really, really impressive, I thought, at 6-5. Is there anything that you could take away from that race?
Yeah, we talked about on the show, we were really afraid the 5 might do this. And that's exactly what happened. Just got to the lead and was gone. And again, another second place effort for me. Dim of Wonder ran okay, but just was never a threat. I guess you could say moving forward, if the 5 gets that trip again, probably going to win. But, again, this is another, you need to circle this day at Gulfstream, these last 4 races for sure, and say these were really bad races, right? Like, you got to think Foolish Heart will face better next time out, and so will some of these other ones, and I don't think that spells good news for any of these horses, right? I mean, but again, these 2 races, the horses that got the best trips won, and that's what happened here. I mean, once this horse was cruising and nobody was around, it's going to be hard to run that horse down when you're shitty behind him,
Yeah, no, I agree. There's nothing else to add. I think Foolish Heart was just better, and he ran like it kind of seemed like that price that you were able to get was kind of almost a bargain when we're looking back at it. The 9th race was the race I couldn't figure out. It was a crazy distance, 1.5 miles, so 12 furlongs on the turf. And I took a lot of horses here. Just looking here, I took the 1, I took the 10, I took the 4, I took the 2, and I took the 5. Of course, the 1, Pillar Mountain, sits the perfect trip. Aaron texted me yesterday and said that was absolutely dream trip, and I couldn't agree. I also think it was a really good ride by Joe Bravo to get that horse in that position, because sometimes when it's 12 furlongs, your timing as a jockey, and I've heard this before, your timing as a jockey is thrown off when the distance is like that, because usually, like in a mile, once I kind of see this quarter pole with this horse, I have to start doing this. And these jockeys have internal clocks. The best jockeys could pretty much tell you, maybe not to the 10th, maybe not to the 100th of a second, but they could say that was 21 and 4. Pretty much spot on. Like, they can do that. And sometimes with the 12 furlongs or 11 furlongs or 13 furlongs, whatever it is, it gets a little cloudy because they're going 3 turns and things get a little messed up. Oh my God, excuse me. Joe Bravo did a fantastic job. I couldn't get Call Kurt home, who did take a brief lead, but Pillar Mountain, once things kind of opened up around the 8th pole, Pillar Mountain was too good for the rest of this field.
Well, what do you know? Another race where a bunch of shitty horses were in it, and the one that got the best trip won the race. I mean, that's all you could really say. Thankfully, had Pillar Mountain on top. That was the win bet. And yeah, I'm smiling the whole way through because it's like if Pillar Mountain is anywhere close to what he used to be, he's going to win because this trip was absolutely a dream for Pillar Mountain. Anytime that horse can turn for home and he's on even terms with the rest of them, going this distance, he's probably going to outkick, most fields going this distance, especially this crappy bunch. And that's what happened. A good trip. I think you could say he definitely moved forward off that race last time out. So second off the layoff, the horse ran well. I don't know if I want him back, as the same for any of these horses. I don't know if I want any of them back. But you can at least say, well, Pillar Mountain will be in the conversation the next time we see a 1.5 mile race, on the turf at the allowance ranks. So, another just perfect trip. And like you said, a really, really good ride by Bravo. He put that horse in a perfect position, saved all the ground, sat a stalking, position and pretty much dominated down the lane.
Yeah, it's one of those situations. I don't think Pillar Mountain is that much better, to be honest. I just think the Dream Trip and him being slightly better was good enough here. And that's all that it took. Let's go to the final race. Another favorite, shocker, right? 4 straight favorites on the day. Liesel gets the job done. I thought this was a race you can go. Pretty sure I did use the 2, Senorita Salsa, who actually looked halfway decent for the first half of the race. But unfortunately, you got to run 8 furlongs when it's a 1 mile race. You can't run 4. It's not going to be good enough. Liesel goes off 1.5, 3-2, and really took over once during the top of the stretch, and Liesel kind of ran away. Paco Lopez. Again, I kind of think this is a weak field. Aaron, what did you think?
Oh yeah, I mean we talked about it before. This was a horrible field. I'm very thankful again had the winner, so that was good. I said I'm going to bet this 4 because I think the horse will go gate to wire, and the horse is sitting like 4th, up the backside. It's like, yeah, well, this horse isn't going to run, but I think it was just a situation where Liesel was just a lot better than everybody else. I mean, for any horse to win this one by 2 1/4, that is a really bad sign for the rest of the field. Liesel's not great. I don't want any of them back. And, it's a broken record, right? Pillar Mountain, definitely the best horse of the 4 races that we talked about. But, I will say this, the horse here, Liesel, sat a trip and made a move and won like a horse that kind of knew what to do. And I think that's good news, It's just going to take a pretty bad field for this horse to find the winner circle again.
Yeah, exactly. I don't trust this horse to do anything moving forward. Yeah. You don't need to use any of these horses now that, especially the 4, are going to be facing winners. If anyone drops into it for a tag, I would probably look at them more than I would at any of the horses coming out. Real quick, because Jared has been patient, we will look at his early pick 5. Aaron and I both used we looked at the whole thing, so we'll do this real quick. I don't have anything else to add because I used the 1, 3, 5, 7 in the first race. Aaron, right? That looks pretty good. We'll go to race 2. I went with the 2, 3, 5, 6 there. Is there anything you wanted to add? I didn't use the 1 and I didn't use the 4 in the second race.
I used the 1, but I did not use the 4. I had the 2 on there.
Yeah, the 2 is a first-time starter for Fausto Gutierrez. The 1, for me, Jerry's turn, like Tim Hills, is now 2 for 33. I've been on here saying I'm waiting for Tim Hills. This horse, in terms of progression, started 5 furlongs on the dirt, then goes 5 furlongs on the turf, then goes a mile on the turf, now back to 7 furlongs on the dirt. You know what that tells me? They have no idea what to do with this horse. And the 4, I just don't think is necessarily fast enough. We'll go to the third race. He went 1, 2, 4, 5. I went a lot shorter. I just went 1, 5. Aaron, I used the 1 and 5. Did you use the 2 or 4 at all? Rough Entry or Cozy, my boy. I was interested in the 3, I think, Baraheen, and the 6, Factorino, a little bit. Those horses are out. So I kind of stayed short with the 1 and 5 there.
Yeah, I used 1.5. I also used the 4. I did use that 4. Yeah.
Okay, so
I,
cozy
I'm
number.
with you. Like, I think the 1 at 6-1 is really interesting.
Yeah, I completely agree. Now getting back to the dirt and sprinting, some of his best races came at Indiana Downs sprinting on the dirt. So that's where I looked. You went short in the 4th, and that's the 4 Corey. It makes sense. It's Brad Cox. I went short, but I also threw in the 2, Never My Love. The reason I threw in the 2, Never My Love, based on the way she ran at Tampa Bay Downs last time out, how can you not use that horse? Because that performance is good enough to win this spot because she won by 7 1/4 lengths. Maybe she won't run that race again, but I felt like I had to use her. And if the 4 Corey runs her best race, she's going to win.
You know, I think you're going to go short. That's the race to do it. Brad Cox has not been great at Gulfstream, and so I threw in the 6 in that race as well. Because Cox, I don't know, he has not been great at Gulfstream.
Yeah, and then that's the 6. That's Sexy Dream for Ralph Nix. The only reason I didn't use the 6 and I put the 6 in 3rd, I looked at that race and the last race and said this horse was scheduled for the turf, and now going to come back to the dirt and now cutting back. I just think there were a lot of question marks, but that filly is talented. Jess's Dream, the filly by Jess's Dream is talented. Yeah. The final race, Jared, you went with 2, 5, 6, 7, and 8. I used the same horses. I used the 2, 5, 7, 8. I didn't use the 6. The reason I didn't use the 6 is because I'm done using the angle from Aqueduct to Gulfstream or Belmont to Gulfstream is a good one, but after 2 races, I don't need to see it anymore. At some point, it's like that this horse isn't going to win. I'm kind of done giving her chances. What did you think of the 5th race?
Yeah, I used the same ones that you said. I used let me pull it up here again, 2, 5, 7, and 8. So can't argue with that one.
Yeah, for the 2 only has 1 start at Gulfstream, and that was the first one. So I'm willing to use her at 4-1 over the 6 at 5-1. The 8 Ginger on My Mind just continues to run well. Like it's like she's one of those horses that's probably never going to win, but I will continue to use because I don't want to be the guy, especially in the last leg, to be kicked out. I'm interested in the 7 Vianney because I do think, and the 5 Suspicious Minds, I think first-time starters can win. Jared, that was real quick. I hope that cleared some things up for you. Dave says he's here for my NCAA picks. We'll do that tomorrow. We're not going to do that today. We're going to keep it short because we have fairground. I have fairground to look through. That's 14 races that I got to sort through. So yeah, we will do that tomorrow. Aaron's going to try to send me his bracket. I'm going to try to get that up there. I'll try to get mine up there as well. We'll just walk through it. So we'll start with stakes races only at fairgrounds. We are not covering stakes races anywhere else. So please do not come on here and ask for stakes races from somewhere else. I'm telling you, we're not going to do it. Stakes races from.
I will add, don't ask for anything tomorrow. Stakes races, Oaklawn card, and March Madness. We're not going to do anything but that.
Yeah. We have to stick to plan. We'll try to keep it, honestly, to an hour and 15 minutes because I'm telling everyone at 12 o'clock, I am logging off. I could be in the middle of my sentence. I'm logging off watch basketball. So 10:30, if we go to 12, fine, but I'm logging off at 12. So we're going to do stakes races, hopefully 15, 20 minutes or so, Oaklawn, and then we'll do some bracket stuff and we'll key in on a few things. So that's it. No, we're not doing a stake review. No stake reviews. If you guys want to do a stake review, maybe Jared will talk about that on Blinkers Off tonight. What time are you guys doing Blinkers Off, by the way?
You always ask. You just ask to see me go. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I ask Halty because I know it doesn't frustrate him, but I know he would like to have a plan because that's the way I am, and I know that's the way he is. And Jared's like, I've got an hour and a half. Let's hop on and do Blinkers Off. And Aaron's like, dude, like, come on. I need more than like 6 minutes. So maybe they'll do steak reviews on Blinkers Off. Who knows? They are going to do a little March Madness horse racing type of deal. So if you guys are interested in that, I had to actually ask Aaron what it was. Basically, I guess it's going to be a bracket of horses, and you're going to kind of just move them on. For the record, I'll take life as good. I don't know what that means. That probably doesn't mean much. But right now, I'll take life as good if I was doing a horse racing March Madness bracket. So tune into that. I'm sure they'll have plenty of stakes action from Fairgrounds as well. I will not be listening because I never do. So I wait till after. So maybe I'll play it during March Madness. So without further ado, good luck today. If you guys are playing Gulfstream Park, you guys can check out racingdude.com. My article is up there. I kind of broke down the last 4 races like I always do in detail. Maybe for Saturday's article, I'm probably going to do Gulfstream again because there's a lot of action from Fairgrounds. So I don't want to give too much away. So we have Oaklawn and Gulfstream Park as part of the Rockets. Again, right there on the article. If you miss it, just open up your eyes because it's right there. You can't miss it. Then you always got Aaron's premium picks and things like that. Any track in the country that you want, it's there. There's nothing like watching basketball and playing the ponies. I arguably think it's the best combination. People have said football and ponies. It's a good one. March Madness and ponies. That's the combination that you need. You got a couple TV screens going. You got some horse racing. You got some basketball. Highly advised you guys try to take off from work tomorrow if you haven't. You might want to consider doing the same for Monday. Give yourself a 4-day weekend. I know I will be. I'm going to try to get as much done. Aaron will try to get as much done as he can as well. So we can just be glued to the TV all weekend long. Everyone stay safe, stay healthy. Again, good luck. If you're playing today, check out racingdudes.com. And we'll see you guys tomorrow with plenty of action. Again, stakes action, preview of Oaklawn's card, and some bracket stuff as well. Last minute thoughts on the NCAA tournament. We will see you guys tomorrow again, 10:30 tomorrow, 10:30, Oaklawn Park, Hot Springs, Arkansas. Tune in, give us your thoughts, comments, who you like in the tournament, who you don't, or anything about tomorrow's card, races 6 through 9 at Oaklawn Park. Take care, everyone.